Well, yeah, like I said, every week I'm going to try and make it as easy as possible for you all, and you're just going to have one file that you need to do and turn in. So, but all right. Hey, Claire.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Awesome. So let's try something out here. I'm gonna, from my iPad, I'm gonna share this. Now everybody should be seeing the whiteboard, right?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing we can do, like with this whiteboard, now I have two options. I can either share this whiteboard and we can all write on it. So if you wanna try, like, you know, we can. I can write on it. You all should be able to write on it too. So like, if you want to do a problem together, I can write it down there and you can work it out, and I can, you know, stop you if you're making mistakes or something like that. The other thing we can do is I can switch over to Notability. I can bring up the performance packet that you're supposed to be working on, and then I could just like solve a problem on there while I talk to you all about it, and you can talk to me, but you won't be able to write anything. So Claire, Lucy said she just wanted to kind of check this out and make sure she got it to work. She doesn't really have any questions. Do you have any questions over the material?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could do a problem, because like I'm kind of confused on how to set it up.
Yeah, sure. Which problem are you talking about?
We can just do the first one, like where it's like section 3, part 2, practice problems.
Okay. Well, it should be 3.3. Hopefully,
yeah.
Okay. Hopefully, I didn't mislabel them. Okay. So what I'm going to do is let's go back to okay. So now I'm going to do the other thing. I'm going to do screen share, and that way I can bring up. Okay. So here we go. Now on my iPad, even though you can still see me on my desktop, on my iPad, I can go to Notability, Integrated, and wow, I could have sworn I had this imported already, but let's just go ahead and do it real quick. Okay. And here we go. So I'll just get this open in Notability. All right, so this is what we're looking at. Let's hopefully you took the notes and did everything make sense, kinda, or?
It did, but I feel like it'd be easier if you like explained it, because like it's hard to like just write it down, because you feel like you're just like copying it instead of like trying to work through it. Okay.
Did you watch the video? Either of you, did you watch the video that goes along with the notes?
Yeah.
I haven't yet.
Okay, well, so that's okay. That's what I want to know. Claire, you watched the video and it's still just like, it doesn't really make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to, yeah. Really, once you understand it, these problems will go pretty quick. You just have to know where to put everything. So what I usually tell students, and I don't want to use that, we'll just zoom in. Okay, so like for number 1, this is a shortcut. I'm going to explain why it works, but so basically, hopefully you saw this. Is over of equals the percentage over 100. Okay, this is the shortcut that helps you remember how to set it up. Here's why it works. Okay, remember, when we write a proportion, the two fractions, is this a laser pointer? Yes, it is. Cool. So the two fractions are always equal to each other, right? So what we're saying is, when we talk about percentages, percentages are always out of 100, and that's why this fraction will always have a 100 at the bottom. And we're talking about some fraction of 100, and we always put the percentage here. So in the question, remember, we're going to fill in. So when we have a proportion, we're going to fill in 3 of these spots with numbers, and 1's going to be a variable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first thing we do is we need to figure out what our variable is going to be. So the question that is asked in the problem, that's always what your variable is going to be. So we'll just use x every time. Okay, and then what the other fraction, like right here, the is and the of. What this really means is you take the part, whoops, and divide it by the whole thing. That's the same thing we're doing with the percentages. We're taking whatever percentage we're talking about and we're dividing it by 100 because 100 is the whole thing when we're talking percentages, right? No matter what percentage you're talking about, it's always out of 100. So you put the part on top and the whole thing on bottom. So, and here's the shortcut, and this is what's, it's gonna help you remember how to do this. All right, I'm gonna use a highlighter here. The is means whatever number is closest to the word is in the problem, that's what goes there. And then the of, let's use a different color, maybe green. So the of is we just put in the number that's next to the word of in the problem. And then of course, whatever it's asking you to find, that's gonna be your variable. So basically we're saying, we're trying to find what percentage 102 is out of 127.5. So 127.5 is the whole thing. 102 is part of that whole thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We're good? Okay. So we're going to set this up and we're going to put 102 in where the word is in our, like I call this right here, this over here, I call this a template. That's like how we get started, and then we fill in the values for each problem. Okay, the of number is the whole thing, so it's 127.5. We always have 100 here because we're always talking about percents, and 100 is the whole thing when we're talking percents. And then since we're looking for a percentage in the problem, that's where our variable is going to go. Okay, so that's really, that should be the difficult part for you, is setting it up. And do you think you both feel pretty comfortable solving a proportion once you got it set up?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Maybe.
So, what was that, Claire?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Go ahead and remember, this whole thing, this whole video is being recorded, and I'm going to post it to Schoology right after, so you can watch this video as well if you like forget what I did, and it'll all be there. So it's pretty nice.
Okay.
Okay. And you can also use the video to get screenshots from your iPad, and you know how to do all that technological stuff, I'm sure. Okay, so you just got to remember, when we're solving a proportion, these are always going to be simple proportions, which is nice. So we're going to multiply our cross products, and we're going to set up a new equation. So basically, we have 127.5 times x on, that's one of our cross products, and the other is 100 times 102. I guess I better get my calculator. I'll be right back. We're going to need that. Okay. Got my calculator. Matches my shirt and everything like that. All right. So, okay. So to solve this, you may see that to get x by itself, all we have to do is divide 127.5 on both sides. So, whoops. So this is really the work that we need to do to solve for x. So we're going to multiply 100 times 102, and we're going to divide that answer by 127.5, and that should give us an answer that is a percentage. And you can always go ahead.
Does it matter what side, like the 100 times 102 is? No,
it does not matter. You can put the 127.5 times x on the right side, and you can put the 100 times 102 on the left side. Remember, we can switch two sides of an equation anytime. And it also doesn't matter if you do 102 times 100 or 100 times 102. You'll get the same answer. So did you go ahead and do the math? Tell me what you get.
Okay.
And Lucy, you're sure and Claire, there's no echo when I'm talking?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I got to remember how I got this set up. Okay, so video and audio on my laptop, and then I think I'm muted. Okay, and I got headphones plugged in. I think that's the only way we can do it. Okay, so what'd you get?
80?
80. 80's right.
Really?
Okay, yeah, and remember, well, that's not our answer yet. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Technically, you only do one side of the problem then, because you wouldn't have to do the, like, you can like use it to show it there, but you would only have to do the 100 thing divided by the 127.5, right?
Yep, that's the math we do every time. And I can give you an even better shortcut. Like we'll do a second one after this. But remember, anytime this is only for when the problem asks you to find percents, but you got to leave your answer as a percentage. So it should be, your answer should be x equals, actually I can just do this. X equals 80%. You just want to use a percent sign when you're looking for the percentage. If you're not looking for the percentage, then your answer would just be a normal number. Okay. And one more thing before I show you this other shortcut. You always want to check and make sure your answer makes sense. So does it make sense that 102 would be about 80% of 127.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, because 80% means it's almost the same number, but not quite. It's close. It should be closer. You know, it should be more than half of 127.5. If you're getting an answer that's like 300%, you should know that that's wrong. If you're getting a negative answer, you should know that something went wrong along the way. So just make sure you use common sense and you fill out the, you just make sure your answer makes sense. All right.
With these problems, will there ever be a negative? Like with these type of problems?
That's a great question. Not with percent problems. Now there can be negatives like we saw in just regular proportions. There can be negatives, but usually there are not going to be any negatives in percent problems because percentages are always positive. It's always from 0 to 100 positive numbers. Okay, so let's jump down a little bit and let's do number 4. And I'm going to show you, once you get your proportion set up, an even quicker way to solve these. You really don't even have to rewrite the equation if you follow this shortcut. Okay, so we take number 4 and we're gonna use some highlighting here. All right, so remember we're doing is over of equals percent over 100. All right, so which one is our variable going to be in this problem?
The 69%.
Well, that's not a variable. That's one of the.
The what is.
What is? So in the place of is, we're going to put our variable. All right. So let's color code this with shading here. Okay. So that's going to be our variable. So we're going to put an X up above that. Let's use green again for of. So of 132. That's going to 132 is going to go in for of. And then this time they give us a percentage. So let's use a red highlighter for this. So we have the numbers that we're supposed to put in. We know where our variable goes. So let's set up that proportion. So we're going to put X over the of number, which is 132, equals 69% out of 100%. Okay, so we're looking for the part. We're not looking for the whole thing. They gave us the whole thing. The whole thing is 132. We're looking for what part of 132 is 69%. So here's the shortcut. It works every time, no matter where your variable is, because this is what, mathematically, this is what we're doing, okay? When you set up your proportion, there's always going to be two numbers that are diagonal from each other, all right? So basically, let me circle it here. Okay, so those are the two numbers in our proportion that are diagonal from each other. We're always going to multiply those, and then we're going to divide by the third number, wherever it might be. All right, so what that really means is our answer is going to be equal to 69 times 132 divided by the third number, which would be 100. Okay, the same thing that we did in this last one. If you look, the diagonal numbers, get my laser pointer. The diagonal numbers were 102 and 100. Okay, that cross product had two numbers in it. So we multiply those together and then we divided by the third number, which was 127.5. That's exactly what we did here. It's exactly what we're going to do here. So really on the calculator, all you have to do is once you have your proportion, just jump in and do 132 times 69, get an answer for that, and then divide it by 100. And that gives us x equals 91.08. And that's our answer. So either way you want to do it, if you want to set up a new equation with your cross products or you want to use the shortcut, they both always work. It doesn't matter where x is, you just have to, multiply the two numbers that are diagonal from each other and then divide by the third number. Okay. So let me see. So that's the one thing is if I switch back to the whiteboard, you guys can't see your assignment on your iPad anymore, can you?
What?
Like if I
I
were
don't
to,
think so.
okay. So
Oh,
if I were
mine's
to-
on.
Go ahead.
Mine's on paper.
Yours on paper? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
Um,
have
my
my mom
Apple
printed
Pencil
out
broke.
today.
I couldn't find my other one, so I had to order them, and they don't come till Thursday.
Oh no, just the tip of it or the whole thing broke?
Like the tip, like
Oh.
the little tip thing that screws off, you can like switch out. It like
Yeah.
is coming off because like I write so hard.
Well,
Today's
that's
been a rough
that's a
morning.
lot easier to replace than the whole Apple Pencil, so it's not such a big deal.
This is my second Apple Pencil. I lost my first one when we moved.
Oh no. That's the one thing that drives me crazy about these things. I had to get this case for it because they just roll. They roll all the time.
I
They
know.
roll off a desk, table.
They just go everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do one more because once you figure this out, it goes really, really quickly. So let's try it. So the is number, I'm going to try and use the same highlighting I did before. We have a number for the is. We have a percentage. And this time, the of value is going to be our variable. All right, so we got that's going to be x. So we set up is over of equals the percentage over 100. Okay, and you can see now here are our diagonal numbers. So we're going to multiply those and then divide by 35. That's the shortcut. If you don't like the shortcut and you like to do it the long way, that's totally fine. But this is the long way. This is how we would do it. 35x equals, because these are cross products, 100 times 134.5. And then, of course, we have to divide both sides by 35 to get our answer for x. So we do 100 times 134.5, divide that by 35, and we get 384 point something. We can round this off. I don't really care how you round it. I just want to make sure you're getting it right. So let's just round that off to the nearest tenth. All right. And now we ask ourselves, does it make sense? Does it make sense that, so 35% is less than half? Like we're asking ourselves, is 134.4 less than half of 384? And yeah, it is. 384 is about 400. So we're expecting our answer to be less than 200, which it is. All right. So always just make sure your answer makes sense in the context of the problem. All right. So is that starting to make a little bit more sense for you?
Yeah.
All right. Great. Okay. So do you want to take a look at some application problems, or
Yeah.
you want to try one of these practice problems on your own?
Like, the word problems. I was really confused on like the word problem.
Yeah, that's always a tough one. But remember, we're going to set them up. We're going to use the same process. It's harder to determine what goes where when you're dealing with a story problem. So, so let's give ourselves our template first for number 3. It is over of equals percent over 100, and then we'll start trying to find this information in the problem. All right. So first of all, it's always a good idea to start by looking at what the question is. What are they trying to find? This is where I would always start. Okay, so Oh, I used red for that before, so I'll keep it consistent. That's always a good idea. Red is the percentage. So in the problem, they're asking us to find the percent. So that tells us right there, right away, we're going to put a variable in where the percent goes. Okay, that's always a good place to start with a story problem. Write down what your variable is first. It always is based on what they're asking you to find. All right, so if I set up so I know it's going to be some number over some number there and equals x over 100. All right, so now we just have to fill in the is number and the of number. And remember, those are shortcuts. What it really means is the part out of the whole thing. All right, so, and this is a tricky one. I wanted you to think about this one because it says, suppose your friend's NHS service project requires 36 hours of community service. Your friend spent 56 hours volunteering at U of L Health. Okay, which one of those is the total needed for the service project?
56. 36.
It's actually not 56. 36 is the total. That's the whole thing that is needed. Now, your friend did more than they had to do, right? Yeah, so if they did less than 36 hours, then the percentage would be less than 100. But since they went above and beyond what they were supposed to do, the answer is actually going to be, it's going to be a percentage that's bigger than 100 because they have more than they need. So even though it's a little bit counterintuitive, this one, let's use yellow for is like we have been. This is the actual 56. This is the hours that our friend put in. And then the whole thing that they need is 36 hours. So even though we're used to the smaller number being the is number and the bigger number being the of number, this is a unique situation where your friend did more than 100% of the requirement. So we're actually going to expect to get a number that's bigger than 100%. So we put 56 on top. 36 is the whole requirement, so that goes on bottom. And now we just solve. So we're going to multiply those, divide by that, and that should give us our answer. So go ahead and work that out and see what you get. And remember, we're expecting a number bigger than 100. I guess I should do it too, so I know if you're right or not. Okay. So Lucy, do you have an answer?
I think hold on. 155.5.
Yes, or 0.6 if we're rounding. But again, I really don't care about the rounding. I'm looking for if you got the right answer. It's always a good idea to make sure we're doing it right though. 155.6, and since we're looking for a percent, we need to have a percentage sign on our answer. Okay, and since it's a story problem, you should answer with a statement. All right, what percent of the requirement did she fill? She met or she filled 155.6% of her requirement. And again, normally that wouldn't make sense, but she did more than she needed to do. If she did 36 hours, then she would have done 100% of her requirement. So if she goes above and beyond, then she's going to be above 100%. Does that make sense? That's why I wanted to give you this problem so you can see something like that. I want you to see all the things that might possibly happen. Okay, and let's do number 4 as well. We might as well since we're here. But I do also want to remind you, you don't have to stay for this whole session. It's not like a class where you have to be here from start to finish. If you just have one question and then you want to bounce, that's fine too. So in the future, I just wanted to let you know that don't feel like you are obligated to stay from 1 to 2 every time you're here. Okay. Just remember, if you're not here within the first 15 minutes and nobody else shows up either, I'm just going to close it down because I'm not going to sit here for an hour waiting for somebody to come. So if you do need help, you need to come within the first 15 minutes. But yeah, you can ask one question and then you can just sign out. Okay. All right. So let's do number 4. Okay. Teacher salaries vary state to state. The average teacher salary in California, the highest paying state, is $63,640, while the average teacher salary in the lowest state, South Dakota, is 55.6% of that. What is the average teacher salary in South Dakota? Okay, so what do we start with?
Is
Well,
over
you could
of.
is over of equals percent over 100, and then the is would be 55.6%.
No, actually, because it's got a percent sign on it. So where should we put that?
The
The
percent.
is would
It's the
be
percent. It's not the
63.
is value. It's the percentage. So, but you're right. We want to start with is. Let me zoom in so it's not so sloppy. Is over of equals percent over 100. I always start with the percentage because it's really easy to determine if you have the percentage or not. If you have a percentage, it's going to have the number is going to have a percent sign with it. If you don't have a percent sign on any of your numbers in the problem, then they're probably asking you to find the percent like they did in number 3. It says what percent, so that indicates there. So when we fill in hours, the first thing we're going to put, oops, I don't want to put that there, is 55.6 out of 100. All right. So the percent is the easiest one to find. Okay. So we now the other two numbers or the other two values we're looking for, which one's going to be our variable?
The salary in South Dakota.
Right, the salary, the average teacher salary in South Dakota. And that is, the teacher salary in South Dakota is a part of the teacher salary in California, right? It's only 55% of the California number.
But it would go on top.
Right, the variable goes on top. Very good. And then the California salary that they gave us, that goes on the bottom because that's out of the whole thing. So 63,000. You don't need a comma, but okay. So this is our proportion. All right, and again, we're gonna multiply the two numbers that are diagonal and divide by the third. So it's gonna be x equals 55.6 times 63,640. And we're gonna divide that product by 100. All right, so go ahead and crunch the numbers there, and then Claire, tell me what you get when you come up with an answer. That's cold.
$35,383.84.
Awesome, great. And we can, like I said, it's a question about money, so we can round it the same way they rounded the other one. We can just round to the nearest dollar, or we can round to the nearest cent. That would also make sense. Like I said, that makes sense. So 0.84, we can just write the whole thing in there. But remember, at the very least, you need to label it with a dollar sign because that's what we're trying to find here. So you would say a good way to answer this, and remember, you want to be complete on this. This is worth 30 points, and the application page is worth 10 of that. So give me a complete sentence that shows me that you understand how to answer the question. So the average teacher salary in South Dakota is $35,383.84. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, so hopefully you can use this information to finish the rest of the problems. And remember, tomorrow is also an A day. I will be at my computer from 10 to 3. You're welcome to email me anytime and say, you know, Mr. Schaab, can you look at my work here? You can just send me a screenshot and I can send you back some tips over email. or we can jump into a Zoom meeting real quick. It's super easy. Spend 5 minutes. I can talk to you in person and tell you what you're doing wrong or tell you how to get started, and that's it. So it doesn't have to be anything real formal or fancy, but you have all day tomorrow from 10 to 3 to get help as well, and hopefully by then you'll have it done and you'll be ready to turn it in.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, thanks for showing up today. It was good to see you guys again. I missed all my classes, but hopefully in the future, we'll see how the first week goes, and hopefully in the future we'll get a few more students from your class in here. It's always nice to see them and talk to them too. So.
Is everything in the folder due for Friday?
Well, remember, there's only one thing that you have to do. The rest of the stuff is just there to help you. So the packet is the only thing you need to turn in on Friday. You don't have to prove that you watched a video. You don't have to prove that you read my notes. You just have to do the work in the packet.
Okay.
So, like I was telling Lucy before you got here, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So this is the way it's going to be every week. You have one file. You need to complete that entire file and turn it in by Friday at 3.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. See you later.
See ya.
I don't even know how to hang up.
I think there's an end meeting.
Okay,
There should be an
hold
end
on.
meeting button down in the lower right.
There's not.
Oh, that's
there
only
it
for
is.
me
Okay,
because I'm
thank you.
the host. No problem.
Bye.
See ya.
Nope, still not working.